Artist profile.
I'm not
Marc
an
Ericksen.
artist.
Page
There's
282.
no art in me. I'm an illustrator. Marc Ericksen. We're going to read and learn about another artist profile, Marc Ericksen, in just a few minutes on Video Gamers Oasis. Stay tuned. How's it going? It's Jeremy here from Video Gamers Oasis. Welcome back to the show. It's an ongoing series. I've been reading this book, really interesting. I find it enjoyable. Maybe you find it enjoyable too. Art of Atari by Tim Lapetino. It's an illustrated history book of the talented artists from Atari, the original Atari Corporation from the late 70s, early 80s. And we've been learning about some really great games and their artists, artwork, cover art designers. And previously we learned about Midnight Magic. Now we're doing another artist profile on page 282, Marc Ericksen. Now this is a long article, so I'm going to be breaking these up into segments so we can easier digest it. And you may want to get your favorite cup of coffee, your favorite cup of tea, your favorite snack, and sit back and relax while I flap my gums for a long time learning about Marc Ericksen, the artist, the designer for various video games for Atari. Or you can even sit in the bathroom and listen to it. It's up to you, folks. This is really for diehard fans and geeks only who want to learn about video game artwork. Anybody else can just scroll ahead. So thank you so much for tuning in. Send some likes, send some love. Follow me on TikTok if you like what you see so far. And subscribe to Video Gamers Oasis on YouTube. On with the show. Page 282. Artist profile. Marc Ericksen. Here's a few of the games that he did artwork for. Galaga, Midnight Magic, and Pole Position, listed on the bottom of the page, 282. Let's learn about the guy himself. Marc Ericksen. Ever since he could remember, Marc Ericksen had been drawing. But his upbringing wasn't particularly conducive to cultivating a fledgling artist. Growing up in a military family, Ericksen had lines drawn for him, where discipline and structure were the order of the day. He was a disinterested, average student, and didn't see art as a road to an eventual career. Here's what he said. I was always drawing as a child, but I never had any training. Ericksen said, the Vietnam War was in full gear when Ericksen graduated high school in 1965. We all understood that we'd get drafted if we didn't go to school, he explained. But I didn't really care because I was from a military family. That was okay with me. I decided after one semester of junior college that I didn't want to go back. My thinking was, I'll get this military thing out of the way, and I went into the army and would up being, I don't know if that he meant to say I would end up being in the service for 6 years. Ericksen spent those years as a paratrooper and officer, rising to the rank of captain and earning a host of medals and honors. My entire upbringing was regimented, so it wasn't about expressing myself artistically, he said. It didn't allow for any self-expression. I regarded myself as an empty vessel for illustration. Drawing was the only thing I could do. But I'm not an artist. There's no art in me. I'm an illustrator. Next column to the right. Graduating with a BFA in illustration, Art Center College of Design in Los Angeles, Ericksen explained the practical concerns that helped him develop a broad repertoire. I did anything: storyboards, cutaways, and different kinds of illustration. Most illustrators cultivate one look, but I wound up doing doing so many things to make a buck and feed my kids while I was at art center, so I could do a lot of different things. I became a functional illustrator. After separate stints at illustration houses in Chicago and San Francisco, Ericksen struck out on his own freelancing full-time. A fortuitous call in 1982 came from upstart computer software company Broderbund, best known for their Prince of Persia and Carmen Sandiego computer games. That initial meeting led to a series of video game box art commissions for the fledgling company, including titles like David's Midnight Magic, Sea Fox, Stellar Shuttle, and Track Attack. Those, in turn, yielded a slew of video game-related artwork for a variety of clients, including Atari. While working on these early era video games, Ericksen's approach always remained the same. As an illustrator, I was always extremely conscious of the idea that we were hired to take the imagery on the screen and make it into something it was not, he said. It was always in the back of my head, what would the kids think? It wasn't like I was fooling. And we'll take a little break here, folks, on page 282. We're going to continue on the article next video. Here's a quick look at the photograph of Marc Ericksen in the left corner. He's a regular dude, white dress shirt and black shirt underneath his white shirt, and a sweatshirt, and he's wearing blue jeans. He's sitting at his desk, designing some artwork on his a blueprint light table. I guess you could call it art table. He's got a couple of lamps over his head, desk lamps, and he's got a map of the world, some photographs on the map, and the background, some shelves. He has either has some games or titles of various books on shelves, and he's got a calendar on the left side of the map of the world, and he's got some spectacles in the lower half corner of the photograph. So pretty straightforward, pretty normal picture of an illustrator working diligently at his desk. Nothing more I can say. We're going to take a little break, folks, and we'll continue on the artist profile of Marc Ericksen on page 283 right after this video. Send some likes, send some love if you like what you see. Follow me on TikTok and subscribe to Video Gamers Oasis on YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for more information and more interesting content on TikTok. Bye for now.
Artist profile.
Ever
Marc
wonder
Ericksen,
who did the cover
page
art for the original
283.
Tetris for the NES? This guy, Marc Ericksen. We're continuing on our artist profile of Marc Ericksen from the book Art of Atari by Tim Lapetino. We're now moving on to page 283. Okay, so here is the top of the page. There's a quotation from Marc Ericksen. I'm not an artist. There's no art in me. I'm an illustrator. Marc Ericksen. Just going to backtrack for a few seconds. My last few paragraphs, or actually last few words from page 22, there was a quotation from Marc Ericksen at the end of the previous page. It was always in the back of my head. What would the kids think? It wasn't like I was fooling. Next page, page 283. Fooling anybody, because the kids knew the games. There was never any being upset at this being on the cover versus that on the screen. Video game work was only part of his client roster. But over time, it grew into a large body of work. Nearly 400 pieces of game-related art associated with almost 200 individual games. Ericksen particularly enjoyed it, but didn't realize the impact video games would have on culture, or the effect his work would have on game players. It was really, really fun being involved, he said. When I first got involved, I had no idea where it was going. We were doing art, getting paid, and having a good time. Working with clients like Atari, Ericksen put himself in the hands of the game creators. I've never been a gamer. I've never played games. Typically, the client didn't have anything in mind. They would say, "Here's the game. What do you think?" They would be talking and I would be drawing, asking all kinds of questions like, what did they see in the characterizations of the game? Sitting with them and drawing was key. They would know where they stood and where I stood. At Atari, I would sit and see a lot of people playing video games, he explained. They had a lot of creature comforts for creatives at Atari. Playing games or ping pong, fridges full of food, life was good. That is more normal now, but it wasn't back then. They didn't pressure them with deadlines. A lot of times, they were playing games, but they always remembered their deadlines. It wasn't until much later in his career that Ericksen realized he had a significant impact on an audience through his video game art. I continued through my career with my head down, but then I started looking back at my career and what has been said online. Paragraph to the right. Some of the art he created was attached to popular games, and the body of work he had amassed added up to quite the gamer's resume. It surprised him to learn that some gaming fans, quote unquote, loved this art as much as they loved the game, end quote. And he engaged the classic video game community, launching a website that delved into the process and insights from his video game work. I enjoyed it when I was doing it and enjoy talking about it after the fact. That's the end of the paragraph and the discussion learning about Marc Ericksen. Let's quickly look at an illustration that he did. The description for this illustration reads, cover art for the unlicensed version of Tetris, brackets NES, released by Atari Games owned Tengen. Artist Marc Ericksen. And there you have it, folks. It is Marc Ericksen, the illustrator of many classic video games for Atari and the NES as well. What was your favorite video game that he illustrated? Leave your comments below. What do you think about his story? Interesting guy. I found him fascinating, and he didn't call himself an artist. He didn't like self-referred to as an artist, but an illustrator. He would be very specific on the games that he would illustrate. He wouldn't even play the games, but he would get information from the designer and as well as the different game players, the employed game players at the Atari Corporation. He would get their feedback from the game and then illustrate it. So that's a kind of a unique way of looking at it. We've looked at some various artists in this book who, many of them played the games. This one did not play the games at all. And it was just interesting to see how his structure and his modus operandi, what motivated him to make the artwork that he did. So that's all there is to it, folks. That's Marc Ericksen. I hope you had a good time with learning about him. Send some likes, send some love. If you feel inclined, you don't have to. But if you feel an urge to send some love and likes to this video and follow TikTok, do so. Do not hold back. And subscribe to Video Gamers Oasis on YouTube. I would appreciate it with the bottom of my heart. And we're going to continue on another day.
This has been the reading of the book Art of Atari by Tim Lapetino, a history book of really great artwork and games from the history of the original Atari games system. Atari 2600, Atari 5200, and Atari 7800. Hope you had a good time learning about this guy and learning about some various other games that were in history. So we're going to continue on another day. Make sure to stay tuned, stay followed on my TikTok and my YouTube for Crossbow for the Atari 2600 on page 284. I'm looking forward to learning about that. I'm Jeremy from Video Gamers Oasis, wishing you a happy, healthy, strong, bold, motivated, and accomplished week. Stay healthy, stay strong, stay physically fit, stay positive, and may you find peace within. Bye for now.